general, once the battle was over, was taken back to his home at Little Falls, which you'll see very soon here, his fine brick mansion. And he lay there for nearly 10 days until he was treated by General Benedict Arnold, who was bringing a relief column up from Albany. There was a doctor, Dr. Robert Johnston, with that unit. It was not an unskilled French surgeon. It was Dr. Robert Johnston, very English, from again that unit that was with Benedict Arnold, and he amputated the leg. He said there not being any. In fact, I can even read it to you. Okay, this is a letter dated General Herkimer's. Actually, it's Harcomer's, Harcomers, and there's 102 variations of the name Herkimer in their spelling in the colonial records. So, August 17th, 1777, to Dr. Jonathan Potts, who was director of the General Hospital for the Northern Department. And Dr. Johnston stated, "Dear Doctor, yesterday morning I amputated General Herkimer's leg, there not being left the prospect of recovery without it. But alas, the patriotic hero died in the evening. The cause of death only God knows. About 3 hours before his departure, he complained of pain, and I gave him 30 drops of laudanum, liquid, and went to dress Dr. Petrie's, who was also wounded at Oriskany. I left him in as good a way as I could wish. When I returned, I found him taking his last gasp, free from spasm and sensible. Nothing more surprised me, but we cannot always parry death, so there is an end to it." And the doctor continued about more news about Dr. Petrie and closed, "The place and hour of glory draws nigh. No news from Fort Schuyler. I am, dear doctor, your most humble and obedient servant, Robert Johnston." So on the 16th of August, 1777, General Herkimer passed away. And it's always been said, it's tradition, and probably very true, because the general was a religious man. He was a student of the Protestant Reformation, and he was recorded passing away reading Psalm 38 in his family Bible, and it started out, "O Lord, rebuke me not." And General Herkimer passed on as he had lived, with the dignity and humility of a righteous man. You know, many people wondered how this battle actually could have impacted Saratoga, and my feeling is I will explain it right now. Now that the battle was fought, when about 12, it was more than that, it was about 12, 14 days later, when Benedict Arnold's army came up, his 1,000-man army came up from Albany to reinforce Fort Stanwix. And it was, a trick was devised where he actually sent a man ahead with bullets shot in his clothes, shot through his clothing, to lie to the Indians and St. Leger's men that there was this huge army coming, as numerous as the leaves on the trees. So when the Indians heard that, they did not want to fight anymore. And Hanyo Schuyler was the man's name, actually. But he was kind of a turncoat and then turned again. And his brother was held back at German Flats, whereas if he did not fulfill this mission, then his brother would be killed in his place. So he needed to do this. So anyway, he convinced the Loyalists and the British Army there that this huge army was coming. When the Indians heard that, because of the numbers of losses that they had sustained in the first Oriskany battle, they did not want to fight again. A sustained or protracted siege, neither a protracted battle nor a protracted siege, is the favored Indians' favored way of fighting. So they started drifting away. Now with that, St. Leger lost fully half his force. So he could not sustain both the siege of the fort and face this new army coming with the whites he had left. So he was forced to retreat also. So about the 23rd of August, the siege was lifted. Now, because of this, a victorious British army would not sweep down through the valley, picking up the supplies and support that Burgoyne so desperately needed. He was having all kinds of trouble coming down from the north. His supply line was very poor. The conditions, the land and terrain conditions were horrible, and he was late, and It was just all kinds of problems there. So he needed supplies, and they thought, they were going to bring up all these people that would actually take over the British side, take on the British side. That had St. Ledger been able to go over Fort Stanwix and come down through the valley, he probably would have connected with Burgoyne as early as mid to late August. Well, at that point in time, the American Northern Army was only about 4,000 men. So Burgoyne and St. Ledger combined would have been almost 3 times numerically what the American army was, and the Americans would have faced certain defeat. By the time the battles of Saratoga actually happened, which was September 19th and October 7th, the American army, because of the New England volunteers that kept swelling in, kept coming in to swell up the ranks, outnumbered the Brits nearly 2 to 1. So the outcome was definitely in favor of the Americans at that time. So it was Oriskany was not the sole reason, but it was certainly an important part of why Saratoga was allowed to occur. And then once Saratoga happened, of course, the French joined with us because they needed proof that we could actually beat the British in a battle. And we obtained the French supplies and guns and ships and money and loans that we needed to continue and eventually win the war. So that whole campaign was, the critical importance of that campaign cannot be underestimated.